So as Evan said, our workshop today is Demystifying Organic Certification, a panel with certifiers. Today, I am joined by representatives from CCOF, Oregon Tilth, Organic Certifiers, Where Food Comes From, and the Real Organic Project. And everyone on the panel today are going to describe what it looks like to work with them to become a certified organic operation. I am Grace Jackson, the Farmer Services Regional Lead at Community Alliance with Family Farmers. Our team works with farmers transitioning to organic by supporting their certification process. Over the summer, I collaborated with the UC Organic Agriculture Institute to facilitate a similar session for a group of farmers transitioning to a new certifier, and it was super successful. So I'm hoping that those attending are finding it helpful today, and then this will be on YouTube for folks who weren't able to join us today. Before we get started, I'm hoping Evan can help me launch a poll, our intro poll for the workshop, just to get a sense of who is in the room. Do you see a poll option, Evan?
I see the organic certifier record keeping one.
It's the same question, so I think that one will work.
All
Yeah.
right.
Okay. So take a moment to answer these 3 questions. We would like to know who you are, if your operation is certified organic, and what you grow. As folks are completing that poll, I am just going to give an introduction or kind of an overview of what the next hour or so is going to look like. I am going to spend a little bit of time describing the organic certification process in California so that all of us here have a similar understanding of when and how you will be working with your certifier. And then we'll transition to the panel discussion and hear from each of the panelists about certification with their company, and then leave some time at the end for any questions from folks who are here. So please add your questions as we go in the Q&A box, and we will get to those closer toward the end of today's session. And Evan, I can't see the progress of the poll, so I am just gonna, you can close it. You can close it when you
75%
feel.
of participants. We're going to go ahead and end that and see who we've got.
That's great. Thank you.
And there you are.
Cool. Thank you. Okay, so it looks like we don't have any certified operations in the audience of those who are farmers. So this is cool. Hopefully this will be super helpful for you. Okay, so I'm going to start off by talking about organic agriculture a little bit. And I want to shout out the UC Organic Agriculture Institute for sharing their slides with me for the first part of our workshop. They have a fantastic resource outlining the certification process in 10 steps. That is going to be linked in the resources slide of this presentation. So this presentation was built off of that. Organic agriculture is a way of farming or ranching that limits the use of harmful synthetic chemicals, prioritizes soil health, and protects natural resources and biodiversity. In the United States, certified organic agriculture is regulated by the USDA's National Organic Program, which is called the NOP. And these regulations outline how to grow something organically and how to become certified organic so that you can use the official organic seal. These regulations detail how an organic operation must integrate cultural, biological, and mechanical practices to foster cycling of resources, promote ecological balance, and conserve biodiversity. Many of the workshops you've attended at the Small Farm Conference this week have likely introduced you to some common practices and terminology in organic agriculture. Some that I've heard this week are soil health, composting, integrating animals, integrating livestock, cover cropping, soil organic matter, nitrogen management, organic weed management, no-till or low-till, and integrated pest management. Here in California, there are several governmental and non-governmental agencies that you would interact with as a transitioning or certified organic farmer. At the top, the NOP works with the California Department of Food and Agriculture State Organic Program, the county agricultural commissioners, and private certifiers to ensure the integrity of the organic label. So they're kind of at the top, connected to all of these boxes. The NOP makes the rules and has the final say in relation to enforcement and oversight. Organic certifiers on the left side of the screen are private companies that certify whether an operation is organic or not. And some of the most popular certifiers that are organic farmers use are listed on this slide. As part of the certification process, organic certifiers will have a farmer fill out a form called an organic system plan, and certifiers are the group that grants you organic certification if your practices are in line with the regulation. Certifiers hire inspectors to visit operations once a year to ensure that your organic system plan matches what's actually happening on the ground. And then moving to the right side of the screen to the yellow and orange boxes, we get to the state and county level agencies. So the CDFA State Organic Program works with the NOP and certifiers to address any compliance issues and conduct spot inspections. They also require California organic farmers to register with them, and that is something that is required by the state organic regulations. And the county agricultural commissioners support the state organic program in their efforts by helping people register with the state organic program and by conducting spot inspections for the program. If a farmer is certified organic, then they can use the organic seal, which is pictured here and pretty readily recognized among consumers in the US. And it tells them that you produced your crop using organic practices. Farms that make more than $5,000 in gross sales need to be certified organic by a third party and also must register with the CDFA State Organic Program. Farms and ranches can choose to be all organic and only sell organic products, or they might be a split operation that sells organic and non-organic products. Farms that are split operations need to be extra careful, and it can take extra work to make sure that there's no contamination or commingling of their organic and non-organic products. In practice, organic farms can look different from each other, but they all must follow the same National Organic Program regulations. This means they use organic approved practices, keep records, have an organic system plan, and get inspected once a year by a certifier. Your operation can be certified in crop, livestock, wild crop production, and in handling. So now I will get into outlining the steps of organic certification, and really wanted to highlight where in this process you would be working with a certifier. So the first step is you want to get prepared for certification and choose the certifier that you'll be working with. To get prepared, you want to make sure that you have a market for your products. You'll need to begin to understand the National Organic Program regulations. And some of those, to be very clear about from the beginning, are that the land that you're growing on needs to be free of prohibited materials for 3 years prior to certification. So this means that if you applied a prohibited herbicide in January of this year, you won't be eligible for certification until January 2029. Alternatively, if you have not applied any prohibited materials in the last 3 years, you could get certified right now. So if you're renting a new piece of land and it hasn't been farmed in the past 3 years, or in general, no prohibited materials have been applied, and you can provide a letter attesting that land history, then you would be eligible for certification now. In general, prohibited materials mean synthetic pesticides, herbicides, fungicides, and fertilizers. Those are not allowed in organic systems. Genetically modified seed and organisms are also not allowed in organic. Maybe the most important one is to start actually using organic practices if you have not already. There are plenty of farms who already practice organically and may be choosing to get certified at this point in their operation, and of course conventional farms who are transitioning and may need to do more work to adhere to the regulations. In addition to getting prepared, you'll also want to speak with and choose an organic certifier. The CDFA State Organic Program maintains a list of over 20 organic certifiers registered in California. And here's a list of the top 5 most popular crop certifiers in California. So one of the big things that an operation needs to do is decide which certifier to go with. You can compare certifiers by their cost, customer service, scope certified, and language accessibility, including others. And we'll get into all of this in today during our panel discussion. After you've chosen your certifier will give you an application and organic system plan form to fill out. And the OSP is organic system plan is essentially a collection of forms that you'll use to document your farm and your farming practices. And your certifier, when we get to it, will eventually review that. There's typically an application fee that certifiers charge at this point if it's your first time submitting an organic system plan with them. After submitting your application in OSP, the next step in California is to register with the state organic program. And you can do that on their website. There is a fee associated with this, and there's a fee schedule based on your gross annual sales of organic products. You can also work with your local county ag commissioner to get registered with the state organic program. So after you submit your OSP, your certifier will review that OSP and your application to make sure that you're in compliance with the NOP regulations. And typically there is a back and forth process between a certifier and an operation to make sure that all questions are answered. And then once the organic system plan is in a good place, then the certifier will send an inspector to visit your operation to make sure that what you said you're doing in your OSP matches what is actually happening on the ground. Inspectors will write a report summarizing any issues of concern they observe, and they'll let you know what they plan to include in their report. Inspectors will submit their report to the certifier. The certifier will read the inspector's report and decide whether everything is in compliance with the NOP and if they want to issue certification. And they'll work with the farmer to address any issues of concern that arise. When everything looks good to the organic certifier, then they'll grant you certification. There is a fee associated with this step to cover the certifier and inspector's time. And we can get into what that looks like and how certifiers determine that fee in the panel discussion. And at this point, you can start to use the USDA organic label and calling your product certified organic. Over the next year, you'll continue to run your operation, keep records that are needed for your organic certification, and update your organic system plan. Eventually, you'll start preparing for your annual inspection by getting your records organized. And then you'll complete your annual inspection and CDFA State Organic Program registration, which is annually. And then these last 3 steps you'll repeat every year. Occasionally you'll get a surprise inspection either from your inspector or your certifier, your county ag commissioner, or the CDFA State Organic Program. And these surprise inspections can include testing for residues of prohibited materials. One note about inspectors or the cost of an inspection, it really pays off to be prepared for an inspection and keep good records that make it easier for your inspector to verify that what is occurring on your farm is in alignment with the National Organic Program regulations, because your inspector charges by the hour. So the more time that they're at your farm, then the higher your bill will be at the end. So hopefully that wasn't too quick of an overview, and it's okay for sure if we get questions about what that process looks like. I think there's probably no one better to answer those questions than the folks that are here today on our panel. And so I am excited to introduce our panelists, and I am going to go through and read a bio for each of them, and then I will stop sharing my screen and we'll get into the panel discussion. So Kim Hatfield joins us from California Certified Organic Farmers, CCOF. Kim oversees the CCOF applicant support team, helping operations prepare for certification and complete their organic system plan. She has worked with organic producers since 2017 and joins us from the high desert of Southern California. Kelly Abbott from Organic Certifiers graduated with a degree in sustainable agriculture and has worked in organic certification for over 25 years. She has worked extensively as an independent inspector, reviewer, consultant, and people manager of client service delivery programs, including at Organic Certifiers. She loves the people in this industry. She loves the people this industry brings together and looks forward to assisting more people in the organic certification movement. JJ Mack is Senior Advisor at Oregon Tilth. JJ has been a part of the organic agriculture community since 2009, first as a farmer and then as an independent organic inspector before joining Oregon Tilth's staff in 2021. At OPCO, JJ has worked as a senior inspector and certification officer for all 4 NOP scopes and now serves as an independent contributor managing projects that span OPCO's certification services, inspections, and quality and accreditation departments. I guess Jamie's not here, but in case she joins us, I am going to read her bio. Jamie Abbott, from Where Food Comes From, grew up in rural northern Nevada on a cattle ranch before attending the University of Nevada, Reno, and getting a bachelor's degree in environmental sciences and rangeland ecology. One of her first jobs in college was with the Nevada Department of Agriculture, where she was trained to perform all sorts of farm inspections, including organic, under the USDA National Organic Program. Back then, she fell in love with the organic standards and has been working in the organic industry in various roles and for various certifiers for the last 13 years. Bernadette Brogden from the Real Organic Project is the West Coast Regional Organizer for the Real Organic Project. They complete on-farm inspections and assist farmers with their applications, host events to educate eaters on the food system, and work closely with food co-ops and other independent retailers to promote Real Organic Project certified farmers. Thank you all for being here with us. Let's get into it. I'll stop my screen share. All right, so the first question that I have for all of you, and I guess we will start, I'm going to kind of go in alphabetical order. So Kim, we'll start with you. If you can just, share your name briefly, your organization, the regions that you serve, and the types of farms that you most commonly work with. And also, if you can fit it in there, your top piece of advice for our farmer who's transitioning to organic or in the process of choosing a certifier.
Absolutely. Thanks, Grace. Hi, everybody. Great to be here. My name is Kim Hatfield. I'm here on behalf of CCOF, California Certified Organic Farmers. Don't let our name fool you. We work throughout North America. So all of the US, a little bit of Canada, and most of Mexico. We serve all operation types, so growers, livestock, processors, basically any step of the food production chain. We're here for you. We work with those types of producers. And piece of advice. That was the last one, right? My top piece of advice for producers getting started, if you're in transition, is make connections. There are so many resources out there for you, be it through CAF, through CCOF, through any of the certification agencies here on the screen. Make connections with other currently certified producers, ask them about their experiences. Um, yeah, there's a lot of resources out there for you. Lean on them, ask a lot of questions. It's so helpful as you navigate that first year of certification. That's my top piece of advice.
Thanks, Kim. All right, Kelly, I'm going to go to you next.
Thanks. So I am with Organic Certifiers. We were based in California as well, but we are completely remote and virtual now. Our headquarters are in Iowa, and our parent company is Food Chain ID. We work with the NOP across all scopes as well, across the US. Our parent company, Food Chain ID, is global. OC directly just works in the US, but we have other certifying bodies that work outside of the US. And I would say my top piece of advice would be that the scrutiny and the amount of paperwork is pretty much the same from certifier to certifier. So choose someone that provides you with a feeling of good customer service from the start of your application process. I think the people that you work with make the difference. And as certifiers, we all work together as well to help motivate and share that process. And we totally understand that you can shop around and switch certifiers, but at the end of the day, who you contact and work with really is what makes the difference. You're not going to move to another certifier and find their paperwork easier or better or different. It's very similar across certifiers. So yeah, I think that first experience when you call is really what tells you what you're going to get.
Thank you, Kelly.
Yep.
All right, JJ, I'm going to go to you next.
Thanks, Grace. So I'm JJ Mack, and I'm here representing Oregon Tilth. Like with CCOF, we have a deceptive name because we operate across the country, including in California. We certify over 270 operations in California to all four NOP scopes. And in terms of the advice I would give, I would echo some of the advice already provided, especially making connections, trying to find a mentor who's already certified and can help answer your questions and walk you through that process. But what I would add on to that is don't be intimidated. That would be the advice I'd give because people talk about the record keeping requirements of organic and it's as a scary sort of thing. But anyone can do it. And the people who do find that rather than being a burden, it more often than not helps them tighten up aspects of their business, improve their practices. I've heard this from farmers all over the country once they've gotten certified, that the act of keeping the records and going through the certification process has made improvements across their operations. So don't be scared. It can be done, and it's not as painful as you might think.
I love that. Such good advice from all three of you. Thank you, JJ. And Bernadette, wrapping up with you last for this question.
Thank you, Grace. So yes, I'm Bernadette. I work for a nonprofit called the Real Organic Project. The Real Organic Project is very different from the other panelists on this call because we are not an accredited certifier for the National Organic Program. We are a add-on certification. So for organic farmers who would like to show their customers that they do more than what is required at the USDA National Organic Program, we offer our additional label to them. So we are set up very differently. We are a nonprofit. We do not charge our farmers to participate in our program. And I would say my piece of advice is Know your market. I feel like the USDA organic label is a tool to market your product to customers who are seeking certified organic product. There is a paperwork, that will be done. Your time will be spent. There will be fees for you to get certified with the USDA, and also additional time spent if you choose to get an add-on label like the Real Organic Project or like Regenerative Organic Certified, which is also an add-on to the USDA label. And so make sure your customers and the places you want to sell your product, be it produce or live, meat, are seeking this, that what you're spending your time and money on is worth it. I find as a nationwide nonprofit, there are pockets of the country and different communities that have a direct relationship with their farmers and don't necessarily need to see a USDA organic seal to feel really confident that their farmer is growing clean food for them. But obviously, a label is incredibly important if you're wholesaling or you want to differentiate yourself at a farmer's market and you don't have time to talk to every customer. So understand your business, and if getting certified is something that you need to do, then I definitely encourage you to do it.
Thanks, Bernadette. We'll get into some of that. Yeah, just like reflecting, like that's such good advice. I feel like collectively here among the four of you, we have like half a century of organic related food systems experience. And someone in the chat said that they had to hop off, but that you're also nice. And I think that that's really true. And it's been my experience as well. Working in working with farmers in certification, the certification staff that I've interacted with at all certifiers have just been really nice people and genuinely want to help. So hopefully, if anything, that's something that folks walk away from this webinar feeling. So I checked my email, and unfortunately, Jamie's had a situation come up and doesn't think she's going to be able to join us. So it's going to be us, and I can send out some information that Jamie sent me about where food comes from to everyone after the webinar. So I think we'll just kind of go through and see one by one, and maybe we'll go backwards this time. So JJ, I think I'm going to start with you for this question. At a high level, what are the main steps that a farmer goes through with Oregon Tilth from application to certification?
So the first thing we'll do is to contact our intake team. We have folks who do a similar job to Kim, and they work with applicants in terms of their application materials, making sure that they are submitting all of the information that our reviewers will need to verify their production plan demonstrates compliance or an ability to comply. We'll fill out all of the forms that we will provide to you either directly or through our website, and then submit those forms to us. They'll go through a review process, at which point there may be some follow-up if there are questions that were not answered completely or in a way that demonstrates the compliance with all the applicable regulations. Once that process is complete, we schedule you for an inspection. One of our inspectors will come out to your farm and verify the accuracy of the information in your application. As you were saying earlier, Grace, that's the main part of the inspection, is to ensure everything that you've described in the paperwork actually reflects the reality on the ground. The inspectors will also do things like evaluate whether or not there's any risks to your crops you're applying for certification from drift from neighboring farms or other sources of contamination that could compromise their organic integrity. And they'll also do some record-keeping audits, which is that kind of intimidating part I was alluding to earlier. But it's really a learning process there, figuring out the records that you need to maintain and have available at inspection to demonstrate your compliance. Once you've gone through that process, the inspector writes up the report, files it, reviewers review the report, and they'll either approve your application and you'll be certified, or they'll issue you a notice of non-compliance. It's an administrative procedure where we've formally noting there's something that is out of compliance with the organic regulations. The applicant is given the opportunity to correct that, and provided the corrective action plan appears sufficient to address the issue, then the non-compliance is resolved and certification is granted. Same process happens in future years, except now you're actually producing. So we're going to be looking at more realistic records of actual production, as opposed to proposed forms, templates, or records of previous non-organic production.
Thanks, JJ. That was super thorough. Kelly, I'm curious what it looks like at Organic Certifiers.
Well, I will say it looks exactly the same. So thank you, JJ, for being so thorough. Appreciate that. There is no difference. And I won't speak for everybody else, but I did work at Oregon Tilth, and I did work at Where Food Comes From, and I used to do inspections for CCOF. So I think I can fit, pretty much attest that that is the process. And it is pretty well described in the regulations and standards as well. So happy to let you know that everybody is following the program accordingly, and that JJ did a fantastic job. So
Thanks, Kelly.
Yep.
Kim, is there anything to add from CCOF?
I love the overlap in community, Kelly. Like we're all so intertwined. JJ did an excellent job. Those are the key steps.
Thank you. And then Bernadette, what are the steps that a farmer would go through to get the Real Organic Project add-on certification?
Excellent. So yes, our process will look different because we do our very best to not duplicate any of the work that your accredited certifier has already done. So we accept all accredited certifiers, including the California State Department of Ag. I do have 4 farmers in my region who sell under $5,000 worth of produce, and so got certified with the state, and we do recognize that as an organic certification. And so we do also have an application. It's online. It's definitely much less involved because, again, we don't want the farmers to be doing double work for an add-on. And so what I'm mainly doing is verifying your organic status. I do that through the Organic Integrity Database that these incredible certifiers keep updated for the public, and dig more into questions that get at the way our standards are different than the National Organic Program standards. So it's not that any one certifier is different. We're more so checking spaces where our standards differ from the entire National Organic Program. And that's going to be for livestock, DMI records. We have a higher threshold for DMI. We're looking for 50% instead of 30. We are asking if all crops are grown in the ground. So various questions on soil health that might differ from your accredited certifier. And we also are a whole farm certification. So we have some questions that are targeted at what you produce and how you are managing the entire land base. Grace had a great slide where at the USDA level, you can have a whole farm that's organic, or you can have split production where some of your production is organic and some is not. We are looking for farms who are only doing organic production, or at least managing their farm totally organically. We recognize there's some barriers to getting certain parts of a farm certified organic, and so we have some exceptions, but we do verify that no methods or excluded products were used anywhere on the farm. So my work is more so looking at those sorts of things within an application. Then we also do an inspection, much less involved. I joke that I basically get to have an incredible farm tour and have some time with the farm. And I think this is similar to a lot of add-on certifications. It's going to look very different because we have this incredible baseline that is your USDA organic certification, and we trust the work that your certifier has done. So application inspection is the same, but what is being done with that paperwork and at inspection is very different.
Thank you, Bernadette. That was super helpful. So I'm curious, y'all, if the farmers that I work with, they may be conventional and they're nearing the end of the 3-year transition period, or they're at the start of the 3-year transition period on their land. or they're already practicing organic and just not yet certified. But they're pretty much inspection ready. So does the process look any different for farmers? I guess what I'm yeah, I guess in a nutshell, what I'm asking is if a farmer comes to you and they're like, I'm not going to be ready for certification, or I'm not going to be eligible for certification for another 3 years, would you recommend that that farmer start working with you to complete an OSP? Or would you say, like, let's wait until you get further along in your transition and then we can, send you an application and start that process? Kim, let's go start with you.
Sure. I would say it's never too soon to reach out because we can act as a hub to other resources, right? Um, like CCOF has a foundation that is highly focused on transitional support, so we could tie you into that. If you have questions that might be better answered by CAF or any other agency, we can always point you in those directions. We do have a certified transitional program that you could tap into. It's completely optional, but if you're in those 3 years and you want to begin experiencing what certification really feels like, you want to go through an inspection, you want to start maintaining an organic system plan, that process looks almost exactly the same as the organic process. It has different fees, of course, acknowledging that you're not fully certified organic. But yeah, you could tap into that type of support as well. So I'd say reach out to a certifier, reach out to a bunch of certifiers, start asking questions about transition, what other types of both technical and financial support are out there, and then explore the certified transitional process. You will actually get a certificate after 1 year of organic management. You'll get a certificate in your company name from CCOF that says, I am certified transitional. I am on this path and I am serious about it. And your buyers might be interested in that as well. But yeah, again, that certified transitional program is very optional. So it's really up to the person how engaged you want to become in your organic journey. But it doesn't hurt to give us a call.
Great, thank you. Kelly, how about at organic certifiers? Is anything different or more of the same?
Well, we do not offer a transition certificate program, but we would also encourage you to reach out and help point you to resources to get you through and make sure that you're on the right track to meet that 3-year requirement of no prohibited substances being applied to land, so that when you are ready to be certified, you're eligible. So there's definitely resources out there. The Transition to Organic Production Partnership is regional. So depending where you are, we might point you to the TOPP or TOP for your region, which would be an excellent resource to help provide that transition organic information and get you there. I do know there are a number of certifiers that provide that, transition certificate. It's just not a service that we do. But yeah, they're definitely reaching out to certifiers, figuring out your timeline. Certification does not happen overnight. So planning ahead and being like, I'm ready on July 1st. When do I need to apply in order to have that certificate in hand on July 1st is important. And making sure that your ducks are in a row. So
Great, thank you. JJ, how about at Oregon Tilth?
The Oregon Tilth does offer transitional certification, and the merits of pursuing that kind of depend on your circumstance and sort of ties back into something Bernadette was saying earlier about knowing your market. Are you going to have a immediate need for making those organic representations whenever it is you want to be certified, or is there some flexibility there? Because if you're going to be applying at the time your land already qualifies, then you'll need to go through the inspection and certification process before you can begin representing those products, those crops as organic. If you're certified as transitional, you would want to speak with your certifier, but because you've already been inspected, because you've already entered the system, when you hit that 3-year date, your land and products harvested from that land after that transition date are now organic. And so you don't have that kind of that you're not hung up waiting for that inspection and certification process to be complete because you're already in the system and in the process. But it does require paying for that transitional certification and going through the inspection process before you can make any organic claims on those products.
Awesome. Thank you, JJ. Bernadette, curious what's coming up for you hearing this question. What I hear you saying is that farms need to be certified by an accredited certifier in order to even qualify for the Real Organic certification add-on. Do they have to be certified for a certain amount of time before they qualify, or can you speak more to that?
Of course. Yes, you do need to be certified, but for example, last year I inspected 3 different farmers who were in their journey to getting certified organic. So they actually had their Real Organic project, their inspection with me before they had their inspection with, I think most of them were CCOF. I was near San Diego. And so essentially, when they did it that way, the day that they get their certification status from CCOF, they then also get our certificate too. So it's kind of that similar thing. We do work truly hand in hand. We're on the timeline of that certification, but people have applied before they have technically been issued their NOPID number, their National Organic Program number, and then we just hold on to their information and wait for their NOP number to be issued to them. And the same day that it's issued, we can issue them our certificate. And again, the Real Organic Project logo is really a marketing tool. And so if it's something that you really want to be able to put on your packaging or on your twist ties or at your farmer's market stand, it makes sense to maybe fill out that paperwork while you're going through the year that you will be certified by a USDA certifier.
Awesome. Thanks, Bernadette. So speaking of kind of timelines and how long it takes for a farmer to get certified, how long does that entire certification process take with each of your companies if we're starting from like the application as the starting point? Kelly, can you start us off from organic certifiers?
Sure. I imagine this doesn't vary too much, but admin capacity is real at certifiers. And of course, there's a lot of back and forth that can happen if your application is incomplete or you're non-responsive to requests for more information. But I would say we advertise that the process, if everything is pretty clear and straightforward, is about 12 to 16 weeks. So planning ahead for that, the initial review, getting the inspector on site, the final review, maybe some back and forth in order to have that certificate in hand. We also offer an expedited certification that you can pay extra for, and then that would reduce it to 4 to 6 weeks. Again, that's if everything is going smooth and you're responsive to those requests for information.
Great, thank you. JJ, how about at Oregon Tilth?
Yeah, it's pretty much exactly the same. We generally say 3 to 4 months is what we would look to get from application to certification. It's not uncommon for that to span out a little bit longer, and particularly, as Kelly said, submitting a complete OSP, an OSP that clearly demonstrates compliance is going to streamline things. And then also being willing to accommodate your inspector's availability. That's the other big piece is when will an inspector be in your area, unless you're willing to pay more to have one travel specifically to your area just for you. We try to group our inspections to keep costs down for applicants and certified operators. So when will there be an inspector there? And then how does that inspection go? Are you prepared for the inspection? Were you able to complete and answer all the inspector's questions completely so that they can submit a nice, clean report that is easy to review, doesn't require a lot of follow-up? Those are some of the big factors that will impact those timelines.
Thank you, JJ. Kim, how about at CCOF?
I anticipate lots of harmony between all of our answers. Yep, we say about 3 to 4 months here too, very roughly speaking, a month for the on-paper review, a month for the inspection report, a month for the back and forth to settle up and close that process, issue a certification decision. We also offer an expedited program that can cut that down to maybe a month and a half, 2 months if you're really on a tight timeline. And just like JJ said, we also do grouped inspections. So if you're willing to wait, maybe you don't have a pressing harvest, it would be more affordable if we can schedule your inspection at a time where we already have planned travel to that area. Um, yeah, we're on the same page.
Awesome. Bernadette, how about for the Real Organic Project?
Yeah, we're in nonprofit land, right? So very different in that we kind of work in seasons. We have our application season. Our application will effectively close for the 2026 year on April 15th. Sometimes we give it a couple extra weeks for people that need some time, but so we basically accept applications through April 15th, May 1st. And then, I'm the only person inspecting on the West Coast. So I'm planning the puzzle pieces and I get out on the road to do inspections usually in the summer. And then everybody gets their certificate. We shoot for by Thanksgiving, certainly not later than Christmas. And so for us, it's yeah, less about like it'll be 12 weeks. You could put your application in April 15th and have an inspection a month and a half later. You could put your application in January 2nd and have to wait until July. So for us, we more so work on like an annual basis. And so it really just depends on when the application is put in and when I'm headed to your part of the West Coast or a part of California. So there's no real guarantee except for we will see you and you will get your certificate certainly by the end of the year.
Thank you. Yeah, that certainly is different. And good to know that timeline, that deadline is coming up. So I think I'm gonna hop over to the Q&A because we've had some questions come in, and I think Nancy may have had to hop off, but she was curious to know, or to learn, I guess, that a certifier must be hired or it costs to participate in certification. And I'm curious if y'all would say, or if you collect data on the farmers. Well, I guess maybe I have two questions, but I don't want to forget this one that I have. If you could like average the cost of a certification for a smaller farm, less than 50 acres in California, could you provide an average cost for that? I've heard like $1,000 to $1,500. So I'm curious if what you're certified, like what you see your clients paying is in line with that or not. Let's see, I'm forgetting the order that I'm going in because I'm changing it up so much. Kim, let's start with you at CCOF.
Sure, you bet. Yeah, I would say 1,000 to 1,500 is probably a reasonable range. Our annual fees we try to scale them equitably to the size of the operation. So if you're a teeny tiny producer, you're going to pay a very small fee. We base it on, we connect it to your value of the products you produce in a 12-month window. So basically revenue over the next 12 months. We have a few deductions from that, so you can take a look at our fee chart. It's very public online. We try to keep all of our fees as transparent as we possibly can. But yeah, for a very small producer, you're looking at around 250 to 300 for an annual fee. For inspection in California, I'd say 5 to 7 is a high range for inspection fees. So altogether, probably 1,000 to 1,500 is well within reason. Before I stop speaking, I always want to make a plug for the cost share program. It's a federal reimbursement program that returns up to 75% of your fees, up to $750, 75% of the paid fees you have within a year. So if that initial number is shocking, please research the cost share program and look into that. It will return quite a good chunk of that money back to you.
Thanks for that plug, Kim. And I think the last year that folks got money through that program was 2024, and they haven't received money for 2025 and this year, right? So we're still kind of in this waiting, holding pattern for when that money will be received from the federal government. Okay, Kelly, how about you at Organic Certifiers?
I love the order that you're doing this in. So yep, we're very similar. We have an application fee. So your first time you would have a non-refundable, just baseline application fee to get into the system, to get set up. That's pretty streamlined. And then we have a sliding scale as well based on your gross annual sales. So your first year, you may not have gross organic sales. If it's your first year and you haven't started production, we would catch up with that the second year. And then as your success grows and you become this amazing, awesome farmer with all of your, gross organic production increasing, the scale moves with you. And that way if you stay small, you don't end up paying exorbitant costs. And again, we everybody does the cost share program, participates in that. So that was awesome to mention that. I don't really have anything else to add. Our inspectors are billed separately. That's outside because it's based on how many hours it takes to conduct an inspection. So that also is scalable. If you have a really large operation and they have to travel to multiple locations and hit lots of different fields or packing houses, that cost might go up a little bit because they're spending more hours. If you have one field, one location, your time on site is going to be far less. And so you're going to pay based on how long that inspector takes. So that is billed separately. And thank you for touching as well on combined inspections, because that also reduces your cost. So if you can combine with other operators in your area, that inspector can go out and you save on any travel costs to get out there. So yeah, I think we definitely all kind of look at each other's fee schedules to see that they're comparable and that, we don't want to outprice anybody or outprice ourselves. So that's usually pretty fair, and they're all public. I know everybody that's on this call for organic certification, they're publicly available on websites, called a fee schedule, and it has to be published. It's required by the standard to publish your fee schedule. It should be very transparent what you're getting into and what you're going to pay. Thanks.
Thank you, Kelly. JJ, how about at Oregon Tilth?
Yep. Once again, very similar. Our fee schedule is on a sliding basis. There will be a kind of a flat fee as a new applicant, as there has been no organic sales at that time. But once you start selling products as a certified operation, that's when we would start asking you to report the value of that organic sales, and your fee would be adjusted on that. So the size of the operation in terms of acreage isn't as important as the profitability of the operation. You could be a teeny tiny little farm, but have your system so locked in that you're very profitable and you will have a higher fee than somebody with thousands of acres who is producing a low value crop and not making very much money off of that. So it is scaled to the profitability of the farm. I would also throw on a couple of additional comments regarding cost share. Although the 2025 funds have not been distributed yet, we are told that they will be distributed. So farmers will be getting that money at some point. This is the information we're being provided, and that the fund program is funded. So those funds will be available again this year and in the future, as far as we know. And then in terms of kind of inspection, the grouping topic, to revisit that real quick, because I know one of the questions we were maybe going to discuss was, what people interested in applying for certification should be looking into. Yes, looking up the fee schedules of the different certifiers is a great idea. As Kelly said, they're publicly available, but they're going to be pretty similar. One thing to look at, though, Bernadette had mentioned the Organic Integrity Database earlier. You can find all the certified organic operations in your city, in your county, and take a look at who's certifying them. That may be something you want to consider, because if there are a lot of other operations certified with a particular certifier in your area, that increases the likelihood of some of those combined inspections and lower costs for you.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Good strategy there. Bernadette, you mentioned that there isn't a cost to participate in the Real Organic Project. Can you say more about that?
Yeah, we are free. We don't charge any fees to participate or to get inspections. We are a nonprofit and we have donors, big and small, that support the work that we do. And I think in the spirit of being an add-on, the farmers that started the Real Organic Project were certified organic farmers. A few of them had been there in the early days of CCOF and other VOF and MOFGA, and so they really appreciate what the USDA program has done for them and as farmers. And so, for them, it was like, well, we don't want to charge a second fee. We know that, especially for small growers, it can be difficult to find the money to afford the certification. And so the founders of this nonprofit, the 50 or so farmers that were the original farmers that started this nonprofit, were figuring out every way they could to not have to charge a farmer another fee. And so we ask our donors to support the work that we do.
Very cool. Thank you. So we have another question from Shayla, and I think we'll ask it to everyone. And Shayla asks, are the certifiers working with mostly contracted inspectors, or are the inspectors on staff? JJ, I'll just go backwards now, starting with you.
Sure. So at Oregon Tilth, we have a cohort of staff inspectors that we use for our inspections. We're a little bit different than many other certifiers in that we currently do not use independent contractors to conduct our inspections. We use full-time staff or part-time staff to do our inspections.
Thank you. Kelly, how about organic certifiers?
Well, we use solely contracted inspectors. We don't have any staff inspectors right now, although I would love that. I would love to have somebody on hand to go out and hit things that need to be hit in a short turnaround time. I think there's benefits to both. I don't know that operators, clients probably benefit one way or the other. So yeah, it's really just a business strategy from a certifier's perspective. But yeah, we solely use contractors.
Thank you. Kim, how about at CCOF?
Yeah, technically our California inspectors are staff, but we work with contracted inspectors throughout the rest of the US. And yeah, there's very likely overlap between our inspectors and other certification agencies.
Thank you, Kim. And Bernadette, I know we heard this from you. It sounds like you're the one that's doing inspections on the West Coast. What states do you work in for the inspections?
Yeah, that's true. We have 4 staff that do inspections. I joke we essentially each have a time zone. So I'm PST, I'm Pacific Time, Washington, Oregon, California. I also dip into Nevada because most of the farms that are in our program are right on the other side of Lake Tahoe. So I dip in there sometimes. We do work with some contract inspectors for some of our certifiers, unfortunately, none on the West Coast at this time, but for some of the East Coast certifiers, we are able to offer a joint inspection. So the Real Organic Project will train contract inspectors that are inspecting for VOF, for example, and that VOF inspector will complete the USDA organic inspection and also the Real Organic Project inspection at the same time. We're excited to hopefully expand that. The contractors seem to really enjoy that they got to do it, and it seems just like, developing that partnership and trust between the certifiers. But it's mostly been happening on the East Coast where the relationships were just much deeper from the director who had worked for one of those certifiers and just knows those certifiers more on a personal level. So more to come on that. If it's something that you really want, ask your certifier if any of the add-ons. I know, for example, Rock Regenerative Organic, I believe does work with CCOF that they can do joint inspections. And so if you're looking into add-on certifications after you become organic, it is worth asking if your organic certifier does have any joint inspections that can be done. It just is to save you time. You're only going to have one inspection rather than having to schedule multiple inspections with multiple different agencies.
Great advice. Thank you, Bernadette. I have another couple questions for you, Bernadette, specifically that have come through Q&A that I want to ask while we're here. Shayla asks if the Real Organic standards that you mentioned are available to review.
Absolutely. And I can even offer them to Grace. I know she's going to send out a document with some resources, and I can put them in the chat before the call ends. But yes, realorganicproject.org is our website, and the full list of standards is available on our website, as well as so many resources for farmers, for eaters, for people who are just looking to get involved with the food system movement. Lots of great things on our website, realorganicproject.org. And then again, I can give the link to Grace to include in the resource document.
Thank you. That would be great.
Of course. Mm-hmm.
And then Shayla has another question, and I might not be I might not be asking quite what Shayla wants to know, but Shayla says, what would you certify? What criteria would you inspect or review?
The way I'm understanding that question, the answer is anything that you are getting certified by the USDA, crops, livestock, processing, or wild crops can be certified by the Real Organic Project. So we mimic in many ways the setup of the accredited certifiers because we are working in some ways in partnership with them. And so anything that you get certified through them, you can get certified through us. And maybe the participant can let us know if that's what she was asking for.
Yeah, Shayla, let us know if that answers your question or if you can rephrase it. Sorry that you can't come off mute and ask yourself. Thank you, Bernadette.
Of course.
Okay, so someone else wants to know about your OSP forms. They say that they know the content will be similar, but are you using an online system, fillable PDFs, Word documents? And the question that I had relates to this. So we know the timeline from when an operation submits their application to 3 to 4 months when they're inspected. And I'm curious if any of y'all know like the average time that a farmer might spend on their OSP forms before they even send them to you, because that's also part of the certification process. So if you can mention, answer both of those, what OSP format you use, and then also like an estimate of how long it takes for a farmer to complete an OSP. Kelly, how about you?
Okay, thanks. Well, I'm really excited this year. We adopted what's called the Common OSP. This is something that the NOP has been working on with consultants in the industry to create a standard OSP that could be adopted by all certifiers. It is their choice to use it, but it is meant to really break down some barriers in filling out this paperwork. So it kind of simplifies the process for clients and eliminates, again, some of those just like intricate barriers that people get into. And so we adopted the Common OSP. We are requiring all of our operators actually to switch over to it. So we have a new OSP on file. Any new applicant would be using the Common OSP. And they can get that directly from us. We can provide that OSP to them to fill out, but we've also partnered recently with a company called Quick Organics. And it is a service that they provide. So a client would work directly with Quick Organics to complete the Common OSP for our program. It's super simple. It is an online fillable format. It doesn't let you proceed if you haven't downloaded documents that it's requesting. If you check a box that says that you need this, then you have to download it in order to move forward. So it really doesn't let you submit an incomplete OSP to your certifier. which is kind of nice. And as a consultant, prior to working for Organic Certifiers, I've been there for 6 months, but I was a consultant and I did get the opportunity to work in Quick Organics for a client and submit an application. And I thought it was really fun. Like it actually made it really fast and easy. And I probably filled out the OSP in 2 hours. I do have a lot of experience, so that helps. But I do think the Quick Organics program is streamlining it, making it faster. So we have both ways. It's the same common OSP. You can get a paper version and fill it out yourself, or you could go through Quick Organics and we would accept it that way as well. Yeah, happy to speak more about that. Yeah, content is kind of the same. I will say my experience in this industry for a long time is that certifiers have added a lot to their OSPs over the years, whether it was changes to the NOP and regulation or things that came up during audits, accreditation audits with the NOP, and that OSPs got really cumbersome. They started to just get add-on, 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 add-on. We need an addendum for this. We need another question for that. And so I have seen sort of that morph into this very complex system and way of providing an organic system plan. And so I guess I'm happy that the NOP agreed to make a little more simple approach to it and put more focus on high risk operations and less risk on real low risk operations, or less focus on low risk operations. But sorry, that was a mouthful, but yeah.
Helpful though. Yeah, super helpful context. Thank you, Kelly. Kim, how about at CCOF?
Sure, yeah. We work with basically any application process that's most comfortable for you. If you want to print a PDF and complete it by hand, mail it or scan it back to us, we'll review that. We have fillable Word docs so you can save to your desktop, complete that way, and return to us via email or Dropbox. Or if you want to work through the Quick Organics platform, we also have a partnership with them. You just, as you're logging in, say you want to work with CCOF and it would load our forms. So you'd work through those through the same mechanism that Kelly described. I don't necessarily have like an average number of hours that it would take. It's really tailored to your complexity and your record keeping systems and what it is you're doing. I will absolutely acknowledge that it's daunting when you first open that application packet. It can be a lot of forms. We have a form early on that helps you tailor your activities to the forms you should complete. So that's the first thing I recommend is just get rid of all the stuff that does not apply to you. And the Quick Organics platform actually does a little bit of that weeding for you too. But yeah, tailor it down to just exactly what you're doing, what you're growing. And then the last thing I always like to say is it's a lot of work in your first year. It's a lot of work to put together all that documentation, but it's kind of an upfront cost to a really smooth experience after that. So it's one big push in the beginning to put together your paperwork and have a really solid plan. And then year to year, it's just maintenance of that plan. So it's worth investing a little bit of time up front to have a good experience after that.
Thank you, Kim.
You-
JJ, how about at Oregon Tilth?
Yep. Similarly, we provide Word documents versions of our OSP forms that can be filled out electronically and submitted electronically. They can be printed out, filled by hand. We will mail you physical copies. We do certify a large number of folks in the Plains community. So there's no technology requirement to getting organic certified except for pencil and pen or in paper. So whatever is going to work best for you is the method that we will accept, so long as the information you've provided demonstrates compliance or an ability to comply. This might be another factor that you would want to consider. Certifiers will share with you their OSP templates if you request it, most of the time. And so when evaluating which certifier you may want to go with, ask to take a look at their OSP forms and see, does this seem like a lot of technical, complicated language? Does it seem like a burden, or does it seem like something that's straightforward and that you'll be able to complete fully and somewhat easily? And I'm a bit of a biased audience because I have a lot of experience in this, but I'll say when I filled out my OSP for my own certified farm, I think I did it in about an evening, so 3-ish hours. We're in a big operation, and I know this stuff pretty well, but it's not something that has to be a huge time sink.
Thank you. Thanks for those words of encouragement too. Bernadette, is there anything like an OSP that a farmer has to fill out for the Real Organic project?
No, we don't need an OSP. We do have an application with many questions, and it does get more complicated the more diverse a farm is. So I joke, but if you're a perennial, if you're only growing dates in Southern California on fruit trees, your application might literally only take 10 minutes. But if you are growing annual vegetables and flowers, and you also have sheep grazing or chickens, it could take an hour to fill out our application. It really does, the more complex and diversified your operation is, the more pages of the application that you need to fill out. So, yeah, I would say anywhere between 10 minutes for, you have no employees and you're growing a tree crop that doesn't move or get rotated, as compared to if you have a bunch of employees and a very diversified farm, it's going to take a little bit longer. But our application is online, same as what JJ said. You can just fill it out online and submit it that way. You can print it out and send it to my lovely coworker Avril that will put it in online for you. And we also work with Plains community members, so we are also mailing them paper applications to send back to us. So whatever works for you can work for us.
Awesome. I love the accessibility. Yeah, I love how accessible y'all are making this. So we're reaching the end of our time together, and this has just been such a great panel, and I want to extend lots of gratitude for each of you for taking time on this Wednesday evening to be here with us. I think the final question that I'll ask is something that takes expands on Hester's question in the Q&A, that this panel is great. Is there a comparable presentation for Spanish-speaking producers? And Hester, not that I know of at the moment, although it's good. I'm thinking that you would like to see that. So that's good feedback for us to hear. I'm wondering if each of the certifiers can let us know if you support farmers in other languages other than English. So Kim with CCOF, we'll start with you first.
Sure, you bet. Yeah, we have full services in English and Spanish. On my personal team, applicant support team, we have 2 Spanish speakers, and we put a lot of work into making our resources available in both languages. So yeah, we're happy to help in Spanish.
Thank you. And Kelly, how about you?
Yeah, same. We don't certify outside the US at Organic Certifiers, but we do have staff fluent in Spanish, and happy to help in that as well.
Great. Thank you. JJ, how about at Oregon Tilth?
Yep, we have a team of bilingual folks here and inspectors as well. We also certify in Mexico, and all of our OSP forms are available in both English and Spanish. And real quick, there was a question in the chat about certification in Mexico. It was directed to CCOF, but I will just note, as we also operate in Mexico, if there are conditions where the safety of the inspector prohibits them inspecting the farm, then that farm can't get certified. And we have had to suspend operation certifications when inspector safety could not be guaranteed.
Thank you, JJ. That's super great to know. Helpful to know. Not great to know, but helpful to know. Thank you for answering that question. Bernadette, if a Spanish-speaking farmer wanted to get Real Organic Project certified, could they?
They certainly could. We would contract a translator. We've also had to do this for people in Quebec that are speaking French, and we don't have anyone on the staff that speaks French. There's a large Hmong population in the Midwest that we needed to do this for, and so it might take some patience and some organizing to get a third-party translator, but we'd be more than happy to arrange that if needed.
Great. Well, thank you all so much again, Bernadette, JJ, Kelly, and Kim. Really appreciate your time, and I think this is going to be an excellent resource for us to keep on our YouTube channel that folks will watch for years to come. Evan, I will pass it back to you. I think we're at time.
We are at time, and this concludes the virtual segment of this year's 38th Annual California Small Farm Conference. Thank you all for closing it out with us here this evening. And we hope to see all of you over the next couple of days at over 12 different in-person gatherings from Humboldt to San Diego, where we can get together, talk shop, share notes, share our best moments of the conference, and perhaps share a drink as well. All right, I will see you guys soon.
Bye. Thanks, everyone. Bye, Evan. Thank you.